month-long hiatus.
Yes. Welcome back to the show, guys. We're doing something special today. We are actually in person with each other. This is the first time we've been able to look at each other while actually recording one of these.
On camera high five.
On camera high five. Woo!
Ain't no sound effects there. That's that real stuff.
That they know. We're gonna add in 5 extra high fives, and we're gonna have a poll. You're gonna tell us which high five was the real one.
Was it that one? Was it this one? Was it that one?
This one?
No, that was a squish sound effect.
Gotcha. So we're coming in from quite a break from our recording duties. But we're coming in hot because 10th edition is around the corner.
Yep.
And we felt we needed to get this out there quickly so we could be ahead of everybody, or still behind literally everyone. but for our standards, we're getting out ahead of it.
Possibly neck and neck with the majority of people.
But before we do that, before we hit into, of course, 10th edition and our excitement for it, we have to, of course, open up with our long-awaited Drew. What's your invulnerable save?
I'm looking at it. It's my little. Well, I guess I gotta say, being in person with you and recording, because originally when we had first talked about doing the show, that was like the dream.
Yes,
we would get a little studio set up. We could record in person. It'd be great. But that didn't happen. So, but no,
there's still time.
You made a little D&D character for me. I recently started playing Dungeons and Dragons, so.
And I made you a little goblin on the 3D printer.
Yeah, I play a little goblin wizard. He's a son of a bitch, and I love him.
Yeah, it's I like doing these things. I like the printer, man. It's so much fun to fucking shit stuff out. So.
In my last adventure with that character, I lassoed a frog and rode him during a boss battle, essentially. Which I kept telling them, you don't understand. I'm battling the real final boss here. Because being a goblin, apparently giant toads can swallow you whole. And it tried to multiple times. And then I did what my little goblin does. I tried to hide and leave everybody to die. And then come at the last moment, hit him with a fireball, and then claim ultimate glory. And, So I ended up riding the frog. And then after that, we went into a room with a bunch of skeletons. And I burned a skeleton. And then I hid in his coffin the rest of the battle. And then I came out, and again, I did what I do best. I defeated the final boss, that final hit. And then I was like, you're all welcome. Now give me that flute that lets me summon skeletons. And they didn't give me the flute. I want to control everything. Every time I come across a creature in that game that's smaller than my goblin, I immediately try to just dominate it with my will. And they don't appreciate that. Jane, what's your invone save?
So my invone save probably going to be a little bit more somber, but all the more important was simply the fact of I have been, you've been aware of multiple medical issues I've been having lately, and it's good to know that all signs point to a nerve impingement. I do not have cancer, so that is my
always good to hear.
Cancer free since 85. Going strong.
Needed to say 83.
I wish I could have, but that wouldn't be honest. Yeah, nothing like making cancer free jokes.
Everybody having fun yet?
So today we are kind of in a moment here. 10th edition's around the corner. I'm fucking excited for it.
It makes me feel old in the fact that not just because like I got in at the end of third, 3.5 going into 4 was when I got in. It's not that. It's the fact that like what's cool is it like it takes me.
What's hip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It's weird and confusing to me. Yeah. Like fucking 10th edition is giving me a lot of 4th and like really 5th edition vibes.
Yes.
And it takes me back to a place of comfort. And like 9th edition was fun, but it was so vastly different than what I was used to that I was just like trying to learn it was the biggest hurdle for me because I was like, I don't want it to be that way.
And I
want it to be the way that I remember it.
I think
why has it got to be that way? And now 10th edition, It's like they heard my childish
Stomping
rants
his feet.
and stomping and my pout that I'd made when I first was trying to learn ninth. And they're like, okay, we need to make that individual man happy with this, and we're gonna take it back to a place of comfort.
I think like that's okay. So yes, you're touching on something that I would definitely like agree with is when I looked at ninth edition, there are so many like Crusade mode. I love
Oh, it was awesome.
Crusade. It's so awesome, and I hope that a lot of people are like, oh, good. If 10th edition, they're going to get away from multiple books. Give me just give me one Crusade book.
Yeah.
Just fucking one. I'll be fine with that. Like, give me each individual faction with their special Crusade rules. I'd be like, yeah, give me here's 20 bucks.
Allow
20,
us to
bucks.
Continue that game mode in some capacity.
In some capacity, I love the idea of like leveling units up and
Yeah.
becoming real veterans, and that there being a progressive story. I love
Yeah.
that.
Well, that was always our dream. We always tried to make that ourselves.
Right, and we always fucked up so badly.
We would be like, we got to do a rule for this and this, and before we knew it, we had a phone book of rules on top of a game.
This is over ambitious.
That already kind of had a phone book worth of rules, and it just
so
what they did worked so well.
I think getting back to basics, because I mean, even when we were learning ninth, even when we were playing our early games of ninth, when we were we'd fuck up because we were using rules that we were just like, oh, that's just a standard rule, and it wasn't a standard rule anymore. And now we're going back. Like, I went through all this fucking trial and tribulation to learn ninth, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're gonna go back to like universal special rules. I'm like, fuckers, but at the same time, like, thank you. Like, why wouldn't like? Why did I have to have 9 rules that all meant the same damn thing? And just because you wanted to make it sound like it's cooler for this army.
And that's the thing. I get both sides of the coin on that, because it's like, oh, you may have like rending universal rule back in the old editions. It rends armor. That attack penetrates armor on a wound roll of 6.
Right.
Okay. It could be a claw, it could be a gun, it could be a laser sword, it could be one of a billion things. Made sense. However, it does sound cooler to say, oh, I'm loading my bolter with a Kraken armor-piercing shell that's going to give it rending. Or this...
It's not even called rending. It's just like, it's going to get this extra armor penetration. And it's like...
Or, this Tyranid unit doesn't just have claws that have rending. They have hardened claws that they've evolved. It's a rapid evolution that gives them armor penetration, blah blah blah. And that sounds more thematic. Right. However, from a functionality standpoint, boy oh boy, does it really muddy the waters.
Right, because you're like, hey, I'm rolling this, and I've got this weapon and it does this, and you're like, well, yeah, I got the same thing. It's just called something different. Like, how many times do you have that kind of... Yeah, I have that, but it's the same thing, but it's different.
Yeah.
Oh, I have this thing that you did that it's the same thing, but it's just called something different. It's like, literally, I think a lot of people went, yeah, so just call it the fucking same thing. Like, just call it this. Yeah. Like you have invulnerable save. Like, we don't need like multiple versions of invulnerable save. Why'd we get away from that? Like,
I understand trying to make it seem more thematic, but at the end of the day, the flair shouldn't, the style shouldn't impede the structure of the game.
The one thing I will say that I hope this new edition brings is actual... How do I want to word this? So, okay, so back in the day, you would have, they are fearless. They had the fearless universal special rule. They never ran from battle, but they would take extra wounds or something.
Yeah, they did like a combat retreat.
Yeah,
where they would fall back, but then they would like.
Well, that was in they show no fear, but fearless was like they didn't even retreat. They just stood, they stood fast, but they would take extra wounds or whatever.
Yes.
But then you had a whole plethora of units that caused fear, but then I had a whole plethora of units that were fearless. Yep. So it was just like, don't do that again. Like, that drove me insane, because it's like, things become, again, they become muddied, and then you're like, well, what's the point of this special rule if it only works in this one if I'm fighting this specific unit with this specific unit, it will work. But if this unit is fighting any other unit, like Space Marines always had, and they show no fear. And it was like, cool, but if I caused fear, and they show no fear. And it was like this, like, they had this contrast of each other where it was just like, majority of players are Space Marine. They all had, and they show no fear. But I had this whole Tyranid army or an Orc army that caused fear. And it's like, but like, 60% of my matches are going to be against Space Marine players, and I'm not... This whole special rule is useless to me. It doesn't do anything extra. Yeah. So if you're going to give me fear, maybe have it have a different effect than the normal morale,
Yeah.
like leadership effect that it did, or whatever. Like, give me something different. Maybe on fear, they can't fight that turn. Maybe they're just like petrified, so they lose a whole combat at like fighting.
Yeah.
So maybe that'd probably be way overpowered, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
do something. You never want to make a part of the game redundant because of the way that you've balanced the amount of an ability being like spread across the game. Because that was one thing as like a Dark Eldar player, they used to have more weapons in older editions that were fear based.
Yes.
And it's like, oh hey, here's my, I think it was like phantasm grenades were one of them where I think back in the day it caused fear, had a chance to cause fear, and it was just like Space Marines are just fucking catching the can, cracking it open, and huffing it, and being like, "Ah, little man, I shall use your helmet as a bowl." And it's like, "Oh no, he's gonna scoop my brains out, and then learn where my family lives."
And then they're gonna get theirs too.
Conrad Kurz. I ate his brain, and I've judged all of his friends guilty. Oh no, that's not due process. The process that you do is not right.
Oh man. So where do we want to start here? I'm wondering where should we jump in?
So with 10th, I say we start real quick. Their first post that I remember them doing was the one about faction rules are going to be more lean than what they are now. I think it talked about they want every army's rule book to be 2 pages long. Like your army-wide rules will be 2 pages.
Yeah.
And they're going back, we'll talk more about like unit rules, like the new unit data sheet.
We'll get that.
Yep. But like those are going back to cards, which is not new. That's like I think a first or second edition thing.
Yes.
That was before me getting into the game.
Right. Yep.
But like cards were a thing back in the day. But this gets me excited because I remember like 5th edition, you really only used a handful of rules from the main rule book. Your main rule book, you would normally have that open for
stat lines.
Well, like the main rule book.
Oh, the main rule book.
That was normally turned to like universal special rules.
Yes.
For quick reference. Yep. And there was maybe 4 pages
and
of them.
Whatever your mission was.
Yep.
Like that was it.
Yep. Yeah, because you would have like your different objectives.
Yep.
And those were even pretty, like one of them was like big guns never tire.
Yeah.
And it was heavy unit focused. Another one was like quick unit focused. Another one was elite focused. And it all made sense just hearing that mission type. Oh, okay, it's got the heavy icon. I have an idea of what this is going to be, but yeah, you have your little dog ear it, or you put your little ribbon there, and you have your special rules, and then your army codex
was used for stat lines.
Stat lines. The back of the book would be your armory.
Yep.
I missed that so much. The newer codexes in 9th edition, I feel like your rules are like all over the place.
Yeah, they're very
spread out,
disjointed. There wasn't like every codex was the same.
Yeah.
With their layout, but it was just like, man, you'd be like flipping through like 3 pages of stratagems to find something, and then you're like, oh, that's not the section I need.
Yeah.
Then like for Grey Knights, we had brotherhoods. And then you had a page. Each page had a brotherhood on it.
Yep.
Special rules for that brotherhood, and then the next was my stratagems, and then the next was like psychic powers, and then the next was like, it's like, can I get like this kind of streamlined, like, please, like, and that's something that they're definitely looking at doing in this new edition, is streamlining a lot of that stuff.
Yes. There's nothing drags the game down more than
hang on a second, let me look at this.
Flip. And with 9th edition, I appreciate how they expanded everything, like you said, with like your brotherhoods, giving every single brotherhood a
flavor
to it. It's got like story fluff, it's got rules, it's got all these things. It's great. But it's like, how many times would we be playing a normal non-crusade game and I'm looking through something and then I'm reading an ability and then I have to stop and say, oh wait, I'm in the crusade section, I need to be in the non-crusade abilities and items section, and just a lot of back and forth. So
And it bogs games
yes,
down.
simplifying and having, because the one thing that Ninth did that I loved were those cards. Being able to just set them down and here are the psychic abilities that
Oh
I
yeah,
have,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
to just be able to look and say, I'm doing this one.
And
It's
then you
right
could
here.
leave the card with the guys, so
Yes.
you knew that was your own little marker.
Yep.
Like you could just like, yep, that unit has this, so you
Yes.
didn't forget who had what.
Yes. And so being able to do the same with like unit cards, and I have a Space Marine squad.
Or even just like having it like at the end of your table and saying, okay, I've got a couple. You could even get like, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I got my 3D printer. I could put tokens. I could print some tokens and literally, oh, I got 3 interceptor squads. So I got my interceptor card, and I could put 3 tokens on it.
Yeah.
So I just know I have 3 units of them.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot. Like they got into a big mashup. How many units I had? I had 3. So I just need to like separate these 3 units out. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Because if you put what they've done, I guess, should we get into unit rule cards?
Yeah, I think the unit cards would be a good one to go with, the changes of the unit profiles.
Yeah, because by simplifying the amount of rules that you're looking at, so you figure your army rules are now on I think they said a double-sided page. I'm gonna take mine, I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna print it and lay it side by side. There you go. I don't need to flip. It's all right there. But like, you have your unit stats, their special rules, and their weapons all on that sheet, which I know some editions started to do that. Like your some of the older editions, it would just list the weapon options, and then you would have to flip to an armory page. It has always made more sense to me to just have those stats right there on that page. Then I don't have to flip to the armory page.
The best part about this is the strength stat. Moving the strength stat out of the main stat line and onto the weapon profile.
Yes.
And just being, it is this strength. There is no adding strength. It just is this. I have this weapon. It is this strength. I don't need to be like, oh, it's strength this. Oh, or a melee weapon for especially.
Yeah.
Oh, he's strength 4, but this weapon adds +3. Now it's a strength 7 weapon.
Yep.
Like boom, done. There's no. And I know people are like, it's just simple math. I'm like, right, but like. You've got it. Like every little second in these games adds up when you're going, especially if you forget. Oh wait, I gotta look. What was that again? What was this? Especially if you got a unit of Terminators. For me, for a Grey Knight player who has like, maybe I've got a little bit of a mix up in there. I've got like 2 halberds, I've got 2 swords, and I've got a hammer. Well, rather than having to like, this one's plus this and this one's plus this and then that's plus this, and oh, you wounded, you negated some of my strength. That's something that's probably going to go away. Like malediction psychic powers that would like render your strength down.
Oh,
because there's going to be no baseline strength stat. It's just the weapon is that strength.
Yeah.
So one, cool, again, because that's going to simplify things. There won't be a bunch of different psychic powers that attack a certain stat line, because that certain stat line no longer exists as a baseline for the unit. So that's really cool. When you think about it, I didn't even think about that until now, but when you think about it, like this broader this broader picture, like you can kind of see like how certain things are going to simplify other things. Like by their nature of how they've designed it, certain things are just going to go away. Yeah. So you heard it here. There will be no strength affected.
Well, unless it simply says, if this unit attacks with a melee weapon, reduce the strength of that attack by 1.
Right.
They could do it that way.
They could.
And then you look, oh, my close combat weapon has a strength of 4. So -1, it has a strength of 3. They could do it that way. Or they may just go like, hey, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
That would probably be the way I'd go with it.
So instead of it trying to represent it in a way of like, well, the strength of your character is lower, therefore they need to roll higher or better to wound you, you just cut out the middleman and you just say, well, you have to roll higher. Yeah, you have to do a better roll to hit them anyways, because that's what it all boiled down to anyways, was your to hit roll or your to wound roll. Okay, well, I hit you with this malediction and you -1 from your wound roll. There you go. You have just done the exact same thing with way less steps.
Yes.
The same thing with like, and because I agree with you, like the old editions having the wound chart and the hit chart. Were they difficult? No.
Were they
You could
annoying?
were they annoying? I mean, once you learn, like the way that they have it listed now was what we all had in our minds.
Yes.
Are they equal? Yes, 4 plus. Is it lower than, like, is the strength lower than their toughness? Yes. You moved on a 5 plus. Is it more than twice as weak? Yes. Then you wound on a 6 plus, unless it's over double. And then in the old editions, you couldn't even wound at all. Like there was a
Right.
point, there was like a fall off point, but then they ended up simplifying that to where it was always a 2 plus or always a 6 plus.
Yes.
And what they've done with that, because I'm trying to teach that to somebody new, and it's like,
Laz done that demon in the eyeball.
So you having fun? Yeah. Everything's seeming to make sense? Yeah. Okay. Now let me show you these 2 charts. Okay. Here's your wound, and here. I know. This is a page of accelerate here, but let me tell you, whoa, we're gonna make graphs fun. No. So by like them already doing that in, what was it, 8th edition? I think it was.
Yeah.
Or was it when they got rid of that chart?
I think so. It was either 7th or 8th that they
whatever
dropped that
edition.
chart.
Yeah, and they literally just said, is the strength higher than the toughness? Yes. Then you wound on a 3. Is it more than twice as strong as their toughness? Yes. You wound on a 2. Are they the same? Yeah. 4 plus. And it was just like, it was like a 3 sentences. It's just like bloop, bloop, bloop. And you're like, I get it. You did it.
Yeah,
you did it. Your Games Workshop, you did it.
We already thought that when we looked at that fucking crazy ass chart in the original edition, but
it's no different. It's just better explained.
They've done that, so that's something I would like to compliment them on. Is they have done, every edition has not been perfect. Let's get that out.
They all have their
strengths and their flaws.
Yeah.
But the thing that they have done is they have really done a really good job of streamlining certain things.
Mm-hmm.
They've been listening more and more to the community. When community says, hey man, this is fucking, like, I lament losing armor value on vehicles. I was always a fan of it, but I understand the reason you got rid of it. Like, and what you did to streamline it made sense. Just give it a toughness, be done with it, give it a high wound counter, problem solved. Like, it just...
I was a little sad because I liked the idea of armor facing values and vehicles having to position themselves. That was, to me, it was very thematic. However, in actuality, it bogged the game down. And
then because you had the arguments too of like, well, is this the side value?
Same with
templates. Is this the front value?
I loved templates. Nothing was better to me than fucking shoving a Vindicator up the center of the battle and just going, I'm going to fire a bazooka in a phone booth because it's only got a 12-inch range and that motherfucker can scatter back on me. That was great. But yeah, scatter die never seemed to line up the same way for everybody. And it's like,
yeah, you always had to like,
I'm counting 8. I'm counting 5. Oh, I'm counting 8. Oh, well, I'll just make it 6, or 7, or we'll roll a die for this, or we'll roll a die. And I get,
but I do miss shopping. I do miss going shopping.
Here you go. Here's your pie plate. Go shopping.
Here's your pie plate. Go shopping.
And the other person just sad as they just watching it. That always reminded me of that scene in RoboCop when he's getting gunned down and fucking Red Foreman, I forget his name, and he's got that fucking shotgun and he's just moving it up and down his body, going. Bam! And he like blows his fucking hand off. That was you holding a large template over, which for people that don't know the old editions, like large explosions, you had this giant clear circular plastic template and you would just get to move it within range of the weapon.
5 inches, wasn't it? 5 inches.
It was a 5-inch diameter.
So, like, you literally just like,
and you would just like get to move it all over and just be like, do I want to kill these 7 guys? Look, I could get these 9 guys.
There's a block of 30 orc boys.
Yeah, maybe I'll move it over there.
Look at that! I got 20 of them.
and you're just fucking,
and literally like,
yeah, you're just Alex Murphy, just crippled on the ground there, just watching that shotgun move all over, and you're like, this is gonna fucking devastate me no matter where they decide to land it. They're a kid in a candy store right now, and I'm waiting to just get put out of my fucking misery. God. Highest highs and lowest lows.
Of course. Who could forget? Highest high. Oh, check this out. I'm going to put this big ass blast template right over your Dark Elder. Oh, it scattered back and hit my guy.
Or when you and I would be on a team. When you would, like the one time you scattered on one of my boats. My boat evaporated. I was like, my boys. Did any of them live? No, none of them fucking live. That shit's made out of paper mache.
Oh, so yeah, so back on track. So the cards, I'm gonna love the cards. I think that because that's a book that I don't need on the table.
Yeah.
Like that, I can
You
stack
set
my
'em out.
cards. I can
Yeah.
set them out. Like there's a lot of different options. Books
If
take up a
somebody
lot of
has a
space.
question about what a unit does, you literally, here's the card. Take a
Yeah,
look.
just take a look at it real quick, man.
Yep.
I'm gonna move around. You look at my guys.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be really cool. All right. So I'm trying to like. There's a
Psychic?
linking. Yes, there's a
You
link
wanna get
here
into
for me.
psychic?
I
Oh,
want to get
So the fact that they're moving everything to the card itself, and they're moving weapon stats, unit abilities, and then they're also redoing the way that phases work, and psychic phase is now gone.
Yes, as a Grey Knight player, I am.
As a Dark Eldar player, I am happy about this.
So
I think that this
torn.
is a better way to handle it, as long as they handle it to where you're not completely screwed over.
Or not even. I don't want to say it's not screwed over because I've seen a lot of Grey Knights player like lamenting the idea of, oh man, we're losing our psychic phase. That was our bread and butter. And it's like, but you don't know what psychic powers are going to come out, you know? And yeah, we look at like the Terminator Librarian. They kind of released a little bit of what he's going to look like. And I think they had his stat line on one of these. It might be under that one there. But yeah, so psychic phase, it's gone.
Oh yeah,
there he is.
Yeah.
So now they have the psychic powers moved over into his like main section.
Yeah. So we'll just go real quick with the new phases. So you're gonna do a command phase to start it out, which is the same as
it's the same. But
so
that's gonna be
different.
one of the things I read was command phase will have certain psychic powers that are done in the command phase.
Okay.
But the question becomes, does this count as their, like, if I cast, say, Hammer Handle, let's say that's something that boosts a unit. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I use that in my command phase. Does that mean in my shooting phase, does my Psyker still get to shoot his Witchfire, smite? Or does it? I don't know.
Yeah,
they haven't really explained that yet. So
that's all, like, right here. So I say right here, as everybody
see that?
See. Yeah, you got it.
You got it.
All we have to go off of is this Librarian
in Terminator
armor stat card that they've shown us. But from how I'm reading this is Smite is now a ranged weapon.
Yeah, just that's what it is.
And I believe,
why would you ever use that? Like, why would you ever use the Stormbolter at this point?
See, and they're gonna have to go and explain that to us. I don't know if Smite, it's like it has a little indicator next to it, and it says in the bottom, before selecting targets for this weapon, select one of the profiles to make attacks with. So Smite has two different variations that you can use with it. What I'm wondering is, will Smite take, because it's noted as being a psychic power, does Smite then take over your ranged weapon attack? Or is Smite maybe an additional attack that they get?
Right.
Maybe they don't say enough. Like Psychic Hood, Feel No Pain is coming back. It looks like 4+ ability against psychic attacks. So Feel No Pain.
But that's the whole unit that he attaches to.
Yes,
that's huge.
But I like the fact that Feel No Pain is going back to a more traditional what Feel No Pain used to be.
Yes.
That's
instead of
nice.
like disgustingly resilient, and then this one and that one, and it's like this one's for 5+, this one's for 6+, this one's for that. It's like holy shit.
If I had to guess, unless there is, I mean, we don't know how psychic powers are going to fully work with like the dangers of them.
I'm hoping we get something soon here on that, because obviously as a Grey Knight player, we're very, very interested. I'm excited for it because I look at it as cool. Now I'm just like, instead of having to remember every single, like, I'm trying to look at it as a more glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah.
Because in my psychic phase, man, I'd forget shit. I'd be like, oh, I totally forgot to cast this, or this. It's like, because you're so focused on like getting that damage output that you kind of forget about your guys that can just like boost themselves, give themselves a blessing.
Yeah.
Make themselves better, make themselves more, martial.
Yep.
So having a command phase where it's like, hey, don't forget about this, and this psychic power. And then in maybe a movement, this, and this psychic power.
Yep.
And then the question becomes, though, as anybody who runs psychers, does this? Okay, let's say I've got a librarian. I'm just a basic generic ass vanilla Marine army, and I've got this librarian, and he can cast 2 powers. Let's say, because they don't say on there.
This doesn't show us, and I'm wondering if there's more to these cards than what they're showing, or
possibly.
how they'll explain that. It may be in the main, like that army rule.
But does he get to cast 2 powers? And then if he does, is it he gets to cast either a smite and a movement one, or a smite and a command phase one, a command phase one and movement one, and then he can't do smite, and then that's why he has a Stormbolter? I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I'm wondering, because like I'm looking at that combi weapon stat, the top of his stat sheet, and it's got some rules that I don't think that they've fully gone into. Devastating wounds, I think, is so now they consider a 6 to hit and a 6 to wound criticals.
Yeah,
similar to like a D&D. And I think devastating wounds, wasn't that like on a 6 to wound? It does something where
it
like
does like a mortal wound or something like.
But it's got anti-infantry 4+. If I had to guess, I'm wondering if that means like it auto hits on a 4+, or maybe it auto wounds on a 4+. Something like how Dark Eldar have poison weapons, and those auto wound on like a 5+.
So another thing I'm noticing too is the force weapon even has a psychic keyword. So what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm
is there going to be an activation that I can do that makes it more powerful, like back in like 5th edition, where you'd activate the force weapon and it was more
that was a psychic roll.
Yeah,
because wasn't back in the day.
But you hit with it and you passed it. It fucking wrecked shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back in like.
Because then again, that would make Grey Knights like.
Edition. Did those do a dice pool, like a psychic dice pool, or wasn't it like you were like psychic with a number, or you were a psychic with like a number?
Something like that. Yeah,
that was how many abilities you could cast, or something like that. And then you got so many dice, or you roll. I'm getting fantasy.
Yeah, you're getting fantasy in there.
Old edition was like they would just have so many abilities they could do.
Yep.
And you just rolled your 2d6 against your leadership.
And if you ever perilled, then that was it.
I think it was like double ones, or if you
double ones or double sixes.
Double sixes.
So double sixes, it would go off, but you'd still suffer the perils. And double ones, it wouldn't go off. You'd suffer the perils.
Yeah, I forget what they called it. It was like supercharged or something like that. Yeah, that's what we always called it.
Yeah, because it was unblockable at that point. You couldn't. Yes, it was coming in hot.
You have plugged your fork into the power outlet of life.
Granted, you got a little bit of a stroke going, but you
a little bit. So, I mean,
there's a lot of questions around the psychic abilities.
But this already, I mean, looking at this, I understand.
It's still really clean.
It's so nice. Hey, they get feel no pain 4+ against psychic attacks. It's an older player, unless I'm reading that wrong, but that's comfort food to me. I'm like, oh yes, like you're speaking my language again. Like,
so that would actually
friends, welcome.
So that actually kind of could bring us into the next section, which is leadership roles and how those have changed.
Yeah, because that psychic hood, as you said, while this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 4+ feel no pain against psychic attacks. That is huge. Because the way that they're doing it now, and this is again kind of going back to 5th, older editions.
4th,
8th and 9th were real big on auras.
Yes,
where it was
were their own guy. They were there to be just badasses.
Venn diagrams everywhere.
Yeah,
his circle overflow on his circle. Well, then you get double bonuses. And in older editions, you just attached. It was basically a unit upgrade to attach. Oh, hey.
Or a character. You just you attached a character to a unit.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Mainly, like, you'd see, like, the Karn Zerker group.
Yeah.
Where there was a 20-man Zerker block with one little Karn in there. And the only reason you did that was because you were going to march those 20 Zerkers across the field of battle, knowing they're going to die, just so you could get Karn into the melee, so he could go ballistic.
Yeah. There was a tank commander back in the day for Space Marines.
Mm-hmm.
And you could upgrade... I think it was like there was any certain tank. I remember putting him in a Rhino a lot, I believe it was, and he basically gave like it better hit rolls, and he allowed it to do certain things. And it was like he was like the tank commander Cronus or something. I forget what his name was. I don't think it was that. And that was awesome. I loved it. And he was essentially just a unit upgrade. You got one of him. You bought him as a character, but he was attached to a tank unit, and that's what he did. And this gives me vibes of that shit, where it's you want a Primaris lieutenant, okay, you buy him, you stick him with a unit,
and that unit gets tactical precision, which gives them the lethal hits ability. So it's like that, like,
and that does what. Because there's
it's gonna add such a cool fluff flavor to like your army.
Yeah, because in 9th edition right now, you can have a lieutenant in your army, and he gives like it's like a 5+ or 5-inch range or a 6-inch range. Every unit around him can re-roll like once to hit or something like that. This to me, that's neat, but it was always funny to me of just him kind of like, who's near me? You do better. You guys do like this.
Y'all are great.
Yeah,
I love y'all. You're doing fantastic back there. Delta Group, pick up the slack.
Where's the lieutenant? Oh, he got busy back there. I think he tripped and fell in a cave or something like that. I don't fucking know, man.
He's yelling at us though. So
this, you have squads led by a leader. They give that unit a boost. To me, I like that. I don't like the idea of your leader units just kind of being loose pocket change, just scattered in the couch, and they're here and there. I like that they are essentially you attach them to a unit, and they give a bonus to that unit. They are a cohesive unit with their own shit going on. I like that.
Right,
and that could be a holdout of me just being an older player at this point, but it makes it's neat. It
to
allows
me,
for
it makes more sense. Yeah. Like a lieutenant doesn't in any field of battle. Like, okay, got news for you. If the U.S. Army started running things where they're like, no, Captain, you stay out of the unit. You're just going to lead us from a distance. He's getting sniped 100% of the time. Somebody's going to see him and like, he's yelling at those guys, and they're listening. Ow!
45 degrees south.
Like
air resistance.
That's a terrible way to lead, you know? Like that doesn't like this feels more military.
Back in the day, that's what we would do, and we had like the lookout sir rule where, hey, they are gunning for your leader. You rookie, jump in front of this bullet, you know. Or give me a hug there, soldier. And then he holds him up in the air like Simba on the fucking Lion King as he's deflecting the bullet off the back of his cranium. He's like, you did good there, soldier.
And so this next part brings even a bigger point to me. Is like I like the fact that they list out like these are the units he can attach to. Yep. Although I find it funny that they put redacted. So clearly, as we were talking about just a minute ago, this may be a template. We may not be seeing the complete picture of how these cards are going to look or whatnot.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes this really cool is also bit of a concern: Death Star units. Because this says you can attach this lieutenant even if there's a captain or a chapter master already attached to that unit. So my question becomes, so chapter master, captain, lieutenant, that's your like ranking system. Could I potentially have a chapter master, captain, and a lieutenant attached to one unit of guys, and then they're getting bonuses, whatever the chapter master gives them, whatever the captain gives them, and whatever the lieutenant gives them?
In the current edition, you can already do that with auras.
True.
Because I want to say lieutenants give like a better to hit roll, and I think it's like captains allow them to re-roll their to wound or something like that. It's like something like that.
Something to that degree.
And you can, again, with my Venn diagram example, like you can double aura like a fucking squad of Space Marines, and then they're hitting better and then they're wounding better when they're within the range of both of them.
Yeah.
And then fucking Bobby G, and they brought back Marnius Kelgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines. He's now Primaris. They brought back Chief Librarian Tigaris or whatever. He's also now Primaris model.
Because they have to keep them alive for longer, so they're like, here, go and upgrade.
I always liked
they're Primaris now.
Yeah, I always liked him.
Sorry, weird side note. I don't know if you've been keeping up on the lore that has come out with the Arch of Omen, but Dante shows up to the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
When the Lion, this is actually out of the book The Son of the Forest, I guess. This is some spoilers I read about, but I didn't care because I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
But Dante shows up to, like, he gets a warp signature, and they show up, and the Lion's there, and Lion's like doesn't know who he is right now. I guess in the Son of the Forest, he's like all discombobulated. He's fucking Alzheimer's you know, Uncle Lion has lost his mental faculties. He just
Come on, Grandpa. Time to put you in a hole.
So, but they show up, and so Lion's like, "Who's this fucker wearing my brother's mask and whatnot?" And he takes his helmet off, and in doing so, Dante's already been upgraded to Primaris, and you know that Dante is always described as having like silver hair at this point because he's so fucking old. But now it's black with just silver streaks. So clearly, the Primaris upgrade is giving everybody a little bit of a rejuvenation boost too. Okay. So
he's been embiggened.
Yeah, he's been embiggened. It's embiggened a word. So yeah, so I mean,
my God, the way that my brain works, the fucking
the way our brains work.
You say was the son of the forest?
Yes,
it just makes me think. You think you're king of the forest? I don't want to get stabbed tonight, man. Continue. Nobody knows what that reference is. If you do, bonus points for you.
Yeah. Ding ding. So yeah. So I like the idea of the attachment of the characters. I do. I
guess for more unit customization.
Yes, and it again, it's gonna feel. So you're gonna have units that are just units that don't get, because you're not gonna be able to buy a lieutenant for everybody.
Like, I don't want to.
Right. But what will be even neater is, if we haven't seen it yet, is if there's a sergeant. Because every book just gives you a sergeant, like, in the unit. Yeah. Maybe that's an upgrade now.
Might be. Back in the day, they were.
Like, you can't, yeah, exactly. Maybe you're not going to get a sergeant. Maybe that sergeant can just simply, maybe all he brings to the table is a better leadership value. Or maybe all he brings to the table is, like, you get to reroll one die, one missed die.
Or he could bring an extra special weapon or something.
Right.
Because I remember back in the day, they were usually, better leadership. And then they could, like, swap out their bolter for a chain sword or a power sword and a bolt pistol or, like, a plasma pistol.
They had like, special uniqueness to them. So I think, like, there's... So everybody's like, man, they're giving us so much information. I don't think they're giving us a whole lot of information, because there's a lot of questions.
And right here, the Primaris Lieutenant Leader, like, this model can be attached to the following units. The two that are redacted, I'm wondering if are those existing units, like maybe like a biker squad or a different squad, and they're just not telling us? Or is that letting us know that we have two new Space Marine unit types coming? Because something that we're missing right now is Primaris Jump Pack Assault.
Yep.
And we have a Hellblaster squad, which is a heavy plasma base.
Oh, what are the fuck are they called? They're the Desolation squads.
The Meltas, right?
No. Because Hellblasters are like plasma weaponry.
Yes.
And then
the Desolation are like the missile launcher,
the new guys that just got released. So that's probably one of the two would be my guess.
I know in the Indominus box set.
Yeah, the Multi-Melta guys.
We got the heavy Melta. But we don't have a box set for them, I don't think, do we? Or do they come in a set of 3?
I think they come in a set of 3. I just don't know. I can't think of their name now. Why can't I think of their name? That's not important. None of this matters.
But what I'm wondering, like, so we have a heavy Melta, heavy plasma, heavy missile based units. We do not have a heavy Las unit.
Ooh.
And I want...
So you think like a Devastator squad coming back?
Maybe not, because like Devastators gave you that mix of like...
everything.
You want to do... here's all of the heavy weapon options. Build it how you want. They seem to be getting away from that. And it's like, you have a plasma unit, you have a Melta unit, you have this unit. Give me my Las cannon unit. What would a fucking Primaris Las gun look like? The missile launcher got a little wacky. I know that it became a joke online and everybody's not happy with it. To me, give me like a fucking badass heavy laser cannon on the shoulder of somebody, because I loved that fucking gun and I loved fucking firing it at infantry.
On the subject of, las cannons, what goes with a las cannon? Vehicles. They go hand in hand.
Turning somebody into applesauce.
So, again, some things that I'm liking what they're doing here. I'm very
I hated. Sorry, not to keep interrupting.
No, you're good.
I hated when they got rid of vehicle armor facing and everything, and then I played, and that was just me bitching and moaning, and then I played with vehicles acting like monstrous creatures, and how simple it was.
Yes, it's
And I was like, oh, hey, all those extra headaches that you had, those are all
exactly.
gone.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
And so that like we're getting some adjusted toughness values.
Vehicles are actually going to stick around, which
Yeah,
makes me
vehicles
happy.
are rhinos are toughness 9. And everybody's like, well, that doesn't sound. It's not very high, but it's higher than it was. Toughness 7 is what the rhinos were.
Yeah.
So they're going up to toughness 9.
This is going to
Keeping
give
the
them a
same
little bit more
wounds.
lasting power because, like, back in the old day, all it took was, like, when you had armor facing values, one weapon cracking the armor and getting through could just instantly blank a vehicle.
Yes.
Or,
That
oh, hey,
was
look.
super frustrating.
Yeah. Or nothing was worse than, oh, hey, that Land Raider coming in, well, I didn't do any wounds to it per se, but what I did do was I just blew off every gun that it had. Or its main weapons. You remember that? Remember those days?
Yep.
And then you just have this fucking neuter,
this rolling nothing.
Oh, I guess I'll try to run somebody over. Oh, hey, you should try to run my commander over. Well, he did a heroic intervention, and on a 6+, he ended up blowing up your tank in one turn. So it made vehicles, although have always ebbed and flowed in editions, where it seems like one edition they'll just be stomped, nobody will bring them. The next edition they'll try to make them have a little bit more lasting power. I feel like this edition, the way that they're doing squads and attaching units to give them buffs, makes me want to bring squads of men. That excites me, the way that I'm seeing how they're handling it again. But the rules here with vehicles also, like, they're getting out of the max strength of a weapon is what was like.
Oh, there's like railguns are supposed to be like 20.
Yeah, that seems a little cuckoo bananas at first, but like a repulsor now is toughness 12. Just fucking make the weapon. What do you say, 24?
20
or 20?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like, hey, and if it's got some kind of bonus that then, like, I don't know how they're going to do the to wound rolls, but if you're still going off the current, like, is it more than twice this? Is the strength of the weapon double the toughness? Like, if they do that, no, hey, it's toughness 12 and this is strength 20. Okay, I wound you on a 3+.
Yeah.
There you go. And if it was a strength 24 weapon or higher, I wound you on a 2+.
Right.
Like, holy shit.
Still simplifying.
You made it. You did it again. Like, it's just another step in that simplification.
It also is gonna, like, so going into that a little bit more too is also, like, depending on the amount of wounds, like, let's say a railgun, it's strength 20, and okay, so this is gonna be me kind of again pulling in a bit of a annoyance, but get rid of like the random wound.
Oh, it does D6 plus 6.
Yeah, stop. Just stop. Just give me a set amount. A set amount you think is fair. 7. Boom. Yeah. Done.
Instead of it being able to do 7 to 12, make it 8. There we go. I know what it is. The fucking Defiler. Every fucking weapon on that thing, I think, is like a something plus
D3
something.
plus this. And so that's something like, so Grey Knights used to have that problem with their force weapons. They used to be like a D3 to drive Grey Knights players up. You're supposed to have these like specialized weapons putting shit down, and I only wounded you one time.
Yep.
So that was a waste. It's just like, fuck.
You never want to have.
So when we got it in 9th edition, that our weapons were just a flat damage. It was like, we were all excited.
Yeah.
And if you give me a railgun, I'm not gonna be upset if that railgun hits something for 8 damage. Like, it's a fucking railgun. It shouldn't be random. It shouldn't do like D6 plus 6. Like, no, it should just flat out hit me for 8 damage. Like, done. And then if you also change it to where it's like, oh, well, it only gets 1 shot, well, then I'm not going to go wasting my railgun shot on some random unit that's charging towards me. I'm going to, like, prioritize, oh, he's got a vehicle over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking hit, because I'm not going to vaporize Ted on the front lines here. It just seems unnecessary. I'm going to fucking try to take the tank out. That's also a hassle for me. It makes it seem like there's going to have to be some, if you do it that way, there's some thought. If I get D6 plus 6, oh, wow. Now I might want to, and I get like 6 shots with it. Oh, well then why wouldn't I hit the fucking unit that's cut nearby.
Yeah.
And not worry about the tank that's farther away. Whereas if you make it a one-shot deal where it just does high damage, it's like, or maybe even just 2 shots, it's like, bam, I'm going for the tank.
Mhm.
And look, I'm a repulsor, 16 wounds. 1 shot from a railgun could potentially crack it open.
Yeah.
Like, it's a rail, like, it should. Like,
That's its job.
Its job is to break armor open.
It's got, like, doesn't the railgun have a rule where, like, the bullet penetrating the hull and exiting out the other side creates, like, a vacuum or something like that
to be awesome.
I think it's like they explain it where it's like the bullet, like, it's coming out the back end. It creates like a vacuum. It goes
through everything so fast that it actually creates a vacuum force as well.
You're in the tank, blackout. You wake up. You're a fucking football field away in a grass field. What the hell happened? Where am I? Where are my legs?
I just like the idea of like the gunner like getting sucked into the hole and he like clogs it, but the force is so great it just folds him in half like a fucking chair, and he's just like like everybody else wakes up and they're like looking around and there's old Bill. He's fucking crushed to death and he's like, help me. He's like, his one arm is like buckled underneath him. His arm's reaching out for it. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Shove him through. Just fucking kick him out, man.
They just get like the ramrod for the fucking gun and they're like, punching him through the hole. We gotta move before that thing shoots again. Get him out of here.
Tank Unit 11, we're going back to base. Oh, we need an adult. And the Tau don't know what's actually going on.
They're just writing in their next shot. They'll line it up.
Most effective tactic. Yeah. 1 clean kill. Very humane.
Maybe after this. Maybe after this they'll be willing to join the greater good. Like, Jesus Christ.
The fucking ethereals are like they have like the battle schematics of what it actually does, and it shows like the mock, like all of the little like digital like crash test dummies that are in the tank, and it goes through and they see like little ragdoll demonstration. It's like man's halfway shoved through, and they're just like, oh fuck. We just don't tell everybody about that.
I like the idea that they're like, yeah, but they get sucked out, you know, and then they just get tossed away. But they don't realize like these dudes are in like gigantic power armor that would actually clog the hole, and they're like, they don't factor that into their like their schematic, and it's just like this one dude just gets like pulled in, and he's just like, his helmet's off, his head, his one eye is like hanging out because all the pressure. Christ,
you fucking peeled him like a banana. I know not what this cheese grater is that you humans keep talking about.
Oh, God. Oh, shit.
Vehicles are going to be fun. But yeah, it's like they're it's not just because there used to be this joke with older editions too, where every edition it was like, oh, hey, a lasgun was 7 strength. Well, now it's 8 strength. Well, now it's 9 strength. Right. And like the tough, it was just like everything just, it always made me think of like Dragon Ball Z. Everything's just, now everything gets stronger equally so that technically nothing changed.
Yeah. So that is like part of the reason why I'm like, let the railgun have a flat damage rate. Because that just, look, yeah, I get it. I'm not going to want to get hit by it either. But at the same time, it should do that damage. The las cannon should just do a flat. It's this much damage. It's a gun that melts things.
Yeah. And
since we're here, since we forgot to mention the other thing, but the objective control is another thing that I really like.
It's a simple. I hate to keep saying like what you're saying clean, but it is. It just makes sense. Instead of everybody,
dude, I had no idea how objective secured worked.
Everybody had objective secured. It seemed
they
like.
did, and they didn't. But then they were worth this much or worth that much. It was like I don't know.
It was back to the whole fearless thing, where everybody's fearless, but nobody's fearless. But everything, it's like
right.
Well, at this point, why?
And giving things a varied value of like this tank is a repulsor, 5 objective control, as it should. Like my 5-man strike marine squad should not be considered more in control of that objective than a repulsor tank. Like, it's just shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, and like
firing deck. I forgot about trying. You're gonna
firing
love
decks.
firing
Well,
decks.
yeah. Well, and I think firing decks, that was a universal rule back in like second edition. I think that was that was an older rule.
Did they explain deadly demise? I don't remember. They said they.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, how many the mortal wounds are suffered when the vehicle explodes.
So it's just a new way of doing explode rules, because that was back like fourth and fifth, and all those editions had
I'm curious if if they're gonna bring back the old what was that in seventh edition where it's like, hey, is that an open topped vehicle? Burning all your guys on the inside.
I would be
sad.
I mean, well, no, I would be surprised if they didn't do something like that. But
to counter the open firing deck.
Yeah, because what they talk about it. I guess we can get into transports real quick. I guess to finish this conversation, one of the things we talked about, like the railgun and the strength of that, and like I like how they're just simplifying everything of like a hunter killer missile, strength 14. Your Rhino tank has a toughness of 9. I like that they're getting into higher values, because it actually, to me, it simplifies stuff. You're not having to worry about this has this, but it has a special rule that allows this to do that. Just what's the strength, what's the toughness? Yeah, these are higher values than on an infantry squad, but that makes sense. And in older editions, you had it to where like a pistol, a bolt gun, couldn't do shit against a tank.
Right.
It just a strength 4 weapon. You would take the strength of the weapon, you would roll a d6, add them together. That was your armor penetration attack against a vehicle's armor. A Rhino had like a side armor, I think, of like an 11 or maybe a 10. So, hey, I have a strength 4 weapon. I roll a 6. It's got an armor penetration of 10. Most shit wouldn't be affected. Your pistol plinked off the side like in fucking Saving Private Ryan. What they're doing now is they're just making it to where, yes, you can technically fire that pistol, that strength 4 pistol, at a Rhino. It's a strength 4 against toughness 9, and per the usual rules, the toughness is more than double the strength of the weapon, so I wound on a 6. Simple. Everybody gets it.
Right.
It's the exact same. You're not having to change the way that it operates.
But it makes more sense that a Rhino is not going to get taken down by random bolter fire.
Yes.
Like, it could still potentially happen, but you're going to just have to dump so much into it.
Yes. And so getting into, you had talked about firing decks. It's just literally firing deck X. So I'm sure that my Dark Eldar Raider boats are going to probably be, they have a capacity of 10 models.
I would see at least 6. Currently? I would see at least 6.
Well,
if not a full 10.
Current rules, with it being open topped, that's always been every unit is eligible that's on the transport can fire.
Yeah.
So I would assume that they'll be firing deck 10, unless they change it. Because the example that they give us is one of them is the battle wagons for orcs have a firing deck of 22.
Yeah, that's
fucking ridiculous. But again, it's a high number, but it may have a capacity of 22.
True, but if it still has a 10, does that mean? I guess that becomes a question of like, does that become like everybody gets to shoot twice out of there because they're just so stable and slow moving? I don't know. That's crazy though. I didn't notice that the first time I read through this.
Like they're showing you right there to like that vehicle, like that number can get high. And the other crazy thing. So real quick, before we even get into transports, I need to just say this. I love the fact that the way that transports are handled in this edition is literally just imagine a shoebox, and then you have all your Warhammer models, and then they just say that holds 10. Okay, and then all your models are worth a certain number. Regular troops might be 1. Bigger, bulkier units might be worth 2. And it's just 10 go in there. How you 10? Up to you. You want to do all 2s and put in? Cool. You want to do some 2s and a 1? As long as they're in a unit, just fucking shove them in there. And it's just like, bah, 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 that they're all in.
This, though, gives me hope, though, that Land Raiders will have an expanded amount.
Oh, it sounds like they're going to.
Because one big thing for a lot of like Grey Knight players in particular who run a lot of Terminators, but anybody who runs a lot of Terminators, if they remember back in the day, you'd run your Land Raider up with like a 5-man Terminator unit, and they'd come out as the assault deck off the assault ramp, and they would fucking charge right in and fuck shit up. So the idea of Land Raider holding
and that's
20 and a Terminator counting as 2 models, that's a 10-man squad of Terminators coming out that Land Raider. That is fucking scary.
Yes, and they talk about that actually. Oh shit, I forget where it is in here, but they specifically talk about Land Raiders once again having the assault ramp rule.
Yes, it's in this section here.
Is it?
Yes.
And like
I think it's further down.
Being able to assault immediately. Yeah, right there.
Assault ramp.
So like right there, we don't know what the transport capacity is going to be, but like also like the fact that they just got rid of the whole you can't put Primaris in a Rhino. Well, why not? They're all Space Marines. You would think that they like okay, yeah, I get that they built
they're a little bigger, but
yeah. But why wouldn't they also retrofit older vehicles? Like a fucking Rhino can hold Terminator models, I believe.
Yeah.
Rhinos have a capacity of 10.
Yep.
And Terminator models used to count as 2.
Yes.
I don't know what they are now. I think they're still 2, and then the big Centurion models I think count as 3.
3. Yep.
So like just the fact that like okay, you know, Primaris, do they count as 2 or do they still count as 1? Like I like that they got rid of all of that shit. It's just Space Marines, you have Terminators, you got Centurions. Those are your 3 different sizes. Cool. I get it. I understand it. They also, to go back to like unit sheets and like loadouts and stuff, real quick, I just want to say this. The fact that they just said a Space Marine is a Space Marine makes me happy, and a bolt gun is a bolt gun.
Yes.
Because I bought in on the Space Marine box set with them versus Chaos Space Marines, where it gave you like the spider unit, and it was like the stealth Space Marine models.
Yeah.
And they were in a different pattern of armor, and they had like bolt carbines.
Yeah.
And those had a different stat than like the bolt rifle.
Yep.
Neat. And you're giving a lot of options, but at the end of the day, and like their armor, you can note it. It's got a little bit more of like the joint, like the black,
the leather look. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they only have one.
I think that's the Phobos armor,
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And then like they only have one pauldron. It's like their left pauldron is like a more normal style, slightly smaller, and then their right shoulder is like a more bare armor.
Okay.
It's I get it. It's neat, but what you've done is like I bought in with them thinking that those were just the new Space Marine models. Then I got the Indominus set to expand my Space Marine army so that I had, hey, that'll be all I really need. Maybe buy a tank, maybe buy like a nice HQ unit, and I'm done. Well, no, because now I have this Phobos armor or whatever it was, and then I have like the other more standard Space Marine armor, and then they have a bolt rifle. And for like me, I just want bolt guns to be bolt guns and Space Marines to be Space Marines. Like I don't want the stealthy gun. I want it to have the bolt rifle, which has like the extra strength on it. It was for me. It was just
right.
Like it was just overcomplicated.
You're splitting hairs, and it's just like for one strength or for maybe an extra damage, and it's just like, oh my god, like.
And so what did they do? They made it to where the bolt gun can have 2 different types of profile. If you stand still and you do more of an aimed shot, it's stronger versus if you're running and gunning it. Maybe it hits more, or you might get. Like I like that. Represent it that way, because to me it's like a bolt gun would be a bolt gun. The idea of like an explosive round weapon even being stealthy is hilarious.
The other thing though is too, it's like, oh, these ones have like a special scope on them. I'm like, I literally have a helmet on that has
Yes.
like full displays and I can see further than the normal human just because of augments that I have, and
Yeah.
like there's all these things that a Space Marine has. Like, oh, now I need a scope because it helps me aim better.
Yeah.
Come on, just
Yeah.
it looks aesthetically neater,
It's cool.
but don't give me this bullshit that it actually is proving like the ability of the Marine of the Space Marine to see. Like that's just not happening. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah. So I'm very excited to see what the Land Raider.
Yeah,
Is,
that was my side tangent real quick about
yeah.
going back to troops. But yeah, transports. One of the big things though, I was not expecting this, is the fact that when firing your weapons out of a vehicle, the vehicle itself counts as firing those.
Mm-hmm.
They say in here, and they give an example of like, because immediately then it makes me wonder like, well, if the vehicle has a buff,
Yeah,
does
because I think
that
it
count
was.
for the units inside? And it does, because they give you the example with the orc mechanic model getting the ability. Where does it say it? Right here. The orc mech can use his ability to act as a force multiplier for the battle wagon's firing deck of 22. And his ability is at the end of the movement phase, you can select one friendly orc vehicle within 3 inches of the model. That vehicle regains up to D3 lost wounds, and until the start of your next movement phase, each time that vehicle model makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. So you can fucking pop a mech inside. I'm wondering if the mech has to be outside of the vehicle or if he can do this while he's inside the vehicle. But the fact that the orcs holding the gun, like, or the orcs firing the weapons out of the battle wagon, it counts as the battle wagon fucking shooting them. So,
Right.
like, you're giving a +1 to hit to fucking up to 22 orcs in there.
Yeah.
So now they're hitting you on, I don't know what it's going to be in the new edition, but we'll just say, what is it right now?
Normally
like 5?
5s.
Yeah. So they're hitting you on a 4+. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's devastating. That's
and they're
nasty.
And they usually have guns that fire multiple times, like rapid fire or stuff like that.
So like the fact that you're now also able to buff vehicles in that way to where you're affecting the units, like that's nuts. There's going to be some shit happening with all that.
I have one criticism, and I think it's going to be for rapid deployment. Because it says that the units can disembark from the transport after it is advanced. Units to do so count as having made a normal move that phase and cannot declare a charge in the same turn but can act otherwise. Why? Why would I do that? Like, why would I want to get out of my armored shell? Like, especially if I'm on a Torox, that means I'm freaking an Astra Militarum. So I definitely don't want to be outside my metal box at the start of a turn. Because my thought process going into that set of a rule is I move it up, I jump out, I'm on the objective. But my Torox can also claim the objective. It's got points to claim the objective. The only way I can see it being useful is I pull up to a point, and you're already on that point with your models, and my Torox doesn't outclass your units. But if I unload these guys, now I've got 10 guys plus the 3 or 5, whatever the Torox counts as, versus your 5 guys. Now all of a sudden
you're instantly claiming the objective.
That's the only way I could see that working.
That vehicle also may only have like firing deck 1.
True.
And it might have a capacity of 10 or 12, and they count as having made a normal move. So that means that they should probably be able to fire unimpeded.
Yes, they can still fire unimpeded.
So, and then fucking 20 guys pour out and just start fucking rapid firing you point blank range.
But it seems very, very, very situational. Whereas, like,
yes, I mean that also, like, you could dump somebody early game into a ruin or something like that. Maybe it's for like positioning. Like if that thing is purely just there to quickly get troops to a specific point, I get it. Because I would assume, like, my Dark Eldar boats will probably have something close to that. But I would assume that with it being open top, like the way that those operate, they may have a rule like that also has some kind of like assault deck built into it. Because those are designed to like zip around the battlefield while constantly just dumping out a large volume of fire. and then sometimes I can fill my boats with like assault units,
But
and they
on the
just leap in onto people when they're flying by.
but on the flip side, like I look at like the mobile command vehicle trait for chimeras,
Yep.
and that's just orders. He can issue orders even though he's he's not on the battlefield. So
Yep.
he can be inside. Like he can be like, "Oh, you guys get the fuck out there,"
And that's
I'll
also,
yell at you guys the first rank,
Yep.
second rank fire.
Yep.
And
I like that too, because that changes the utility of that vehicle.
yes,
That doesn't have to just be a troop transport that you're pushing forward to dump men where you need them. You can literally have one
Leave.
stay back, and now that is an HQ model,
yes,
and you are going to treat it as such.
and he's got a higher wound counter. But the one I like the most is the fire support. Fire support is until the end of the turn, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transfer this turn makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, I get to reroll the, like, basically it's like they're like, it doesn't say it's shooting, but it's basically saying it's firing as well as you're firing to like give you that fire support, so you're actually going to be able to wound better.
Yeah.
So I like that one a lot too. So that's again, they're all useful in their own rights.
They're trying to help promote the styles of play that I feel like players that play these armies like.
Yeah, that'd be a fair, especially for the for guard players.
Yeah.
So, that's I guess
I think we hit a lot of this, and a weapon lethality. We kind of talked about how they're upping stats, they're giving weapons. I kind of ranted about this when I went into my old Space Marines thing. We've hit on some of this with all over, but like I like the fact that they're doing
some new ones are sustained hits. I like sustained hits.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
I like the multiple weapon stats depending on how you want to fire a weapon. The universal rules, the way that they're handling those.
Everything devastating wounds.
I like that they're going with the term critical wound as well. They're piggybacking off of D&D, like, and other things. Like everybody knows what a crit. Like if you say like, oh, a critical wound, most players will know. And it also like I would say it's a little bit of like an endorphin rush when you roll a 6 and calling it like, oh, that's a critical hit or critical wound, like that. I like that. That's just like, nothing feels better than rolling a critical and you're like, oh, and they're like, oh, dude, you fucking critted, and it's like, yay! Like RPGs have been training our brains to crave the fucking term critical our whole lives,
and now they're adopting it. Maybe that's part of why the Wizards of the Coast are trying to like lock stuff down. That's ours, because Games Workshops was coming for them.
Yeah.
So like melta weapons are, I mean, just hugely devastating as usual.
So right there, the new melta rifle, it's damage D6, but it looks like if you're within half-inch range, the way that they're boosting melta weapons is it's melta 2.
Yep. So it sounds like it'd be D6 plus 2.
Yeah.
So it's going to guarantee you at least 3 wounds.
Yeah.
Or at least 3 damage. But the sustained hits one is going to be really interesting for certain groups, because
that's exploding hits, right?
Sustained hits?
Yeah.
No, sustained hits are like, essentially, every time a critical hit is rolled, you get an additional number of hits on the target by denoted. So if I roll for this guy, the Shuriken Cannon, sustained hits 1, and I roll, let's see, how many shots does it get? 3 attacks. So I roll 3 attacks, and I roll 2 6s. I get, and I let's say I hit once, and I get 2 6s as well on top of that. So I had 3 total hits, but I had 2 6s. Now I got 5 hits when I go to roll to wound. So imagine something like las guns getting sustained hits too. It's possible.
I want to know what they're going to do with like a heavy bolter or some of those like Gatling cannons and shit, like the chain.
I got like the Gatling silencer for the Grey Knights. I'm interested to see, like, is that going to get like a sustained hits too or something, since it has like a limited number of shots. It's not. Yeah. But like, I like the idea, like they're basically saying when they talk about sustained hits, they're talking about like, this is like overwhelming fire just coming from the unit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sit there and say, oh, sustained hits 1, and that denotes to me that there's going to be sustained hits 2, and maybe even sustained hits 3, and that'd be it. Because if it wasn't, then why wouldn't you just say sustained hits and then you just get the additional hit and then
Yes.
be done? Why have an X value to it if you weren't going to have?
That's one of the things that I'm I'm excited about.
And then we have Twin Linked is back. So Twin Linked is coming back. Each time the attack is made with such a weapon, you can reroll the attack wound.
And it's old school Twin Link.
Yeah,
that was like 4th and 5th edition Twin Link. It's just a better chance to hit. It
to
doesn't
wound.
Or to wound. It doesn't give you like 2 las cannons that you get to fire. Because that to me always felt weird. Because like you have like something like a twin linked weapon on like a tank, and it's like your fight. It's like I don't know, like the weapon is just like because it was old editions that it was a better chance to hit.
Yeah, like because you basically roll 2 die instead of 1. Essentially, that's usually what everybody ended up doing to simplify it.
Yeah, you have to like re-roll your to hit roll.
Yeah,
because it was like you're firing 2 laser beams simultaneously, so you're bound to hit with at least one of them.
Yeah,
so I liked it that way.
So if you had a predator, old school is you had predator roll with 2 side spawns and las cannons, they'd fire off.
Yeah,
they were twin, or the first one, the main cannon was twin link.
So
the
roll, 2 side ones were not.
Yeah, so you'd roll all 3 with a different colored die denoting your main cannon. If the main cannon missed, you got to re-roll it. Then you could have up to 3 potential hits with your las cannon. So I like the idea of it just making your wound roll better because, again, it was very annoying to always be getting like, oh, look, I get an extra shot with that las cannon because, oopsie, it missed. It's like, well, no, it missed. It missed. Stop with that. Like if you want to improve its chances to hit, that's different. But just like flat out saying, oh, it failed to hit, so I get to re-roll it because it's twin linked, it's like, oh, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they even note their rending could come back. Yeah, so we know that. We know, guys.
Oh wait, does it say rending can come back?
It says perhaps it says throw back to classic rending roll. One of the stars, I forget which one it was for. There's that one. Yeah, even the new Terminator assault cannon is getting in on the action.
Oh, devastating wounds.
Devastating wounds.
Yeah. Because devastating wounds is a mortal wound on 6 on a 6 to wound.
Yep.
Yeah, because I loved rending was like I loved that rule.
Yeah.
The idea that old assault cannons used to give you rending. They didn't do it where like you would get extra to hit rolls. Like it had a decent volume of fire, and it still does 6 attacks.
Yes.
And instead of doing like the sustained fire, it was the idea that you're hitting somebody with so many rounds in a specific like area, you're literally just chewing through their armor. And that idea to me was just fucking cool. I've been throwing out a lot of references this episode, but like Arnold,
we knew that was
Arnold, like fucking Jesse Ventura in Predator with that fucking minigun.
Oh yeah,
and just cutting down the jungle.
Yeah,
and to me, it's always like that classic Terminator assault cannon. Always just made me think of like firing that on an armored opponent. You're just fucking chipping away at that armor.
Yeah, if the Predator had been in the forest at that moment, it would have died. Like they would have just seen a bunch of green spray coming out of the woods. Like, what the hell is that?
Somebody have a backpack full of glow sticks over there.
The end credits would roll.
Yeah.
Just Ventura would never get his chance to say, "I ain't got time to bleed, man." Like you don't get any of the classic moments. Like it's all for naught. But yeah, I think okay. So summary. I think we can hit our.
I will say this. I'm very happy that Tyranids are coming back as the main villain. I thought it was neat when they had Necrons for a short while there.
Very sure. They kind of like Silent Kings like came out like I'm crazier than ever. And they're like, that's cool. And they're like, all right, I'm gonna go over here then.
Go back to your space old country buffet, old robot man.
Affirmative.
No, I like that they're bringing them back because it was a 4th edition starter. I think was the box set that I picked. So. Battle for McCraig.
Yeah, I think it was 4th edition.
And it was Space Marines, a small Space Marine squad versus a small squad of I think just like Termagants, Hormagants.
It was nothing spectacular. Maybe some Gene Stealers, I think.
Maybe, and it gave you cool wreckage of a Space Marine ship.
It's a drop pod, wasn't it?
No, it was
Or was it?
the Aquila class
Oh,
fighter
that's right.
or
Yeah,
something
that's
like
right.
that.
Yep, yep.
Because I'm in the process of trying to convert mine back into that ship. They don't make it anymore. It was like a Forge World model.
Yeah.
But really, really, really cool little set. And the whole premise was you were trying to recover the gene seed from like the downed fighter, I think, or something like that. There was like space marine gene seed on there, and you were trying to recover that before the Tyranid squad was coming to claim it or something like that. You were trying to like keep them from acquiring space marine gene seed to bio absorb it or whatever. Because to me, the way that I think of the 40K storyline is you have like the Imperium on one side of the dinner table, you have Chaos on the other side of the dinner table, all having Thanksgiving dinner, and they're just yelling at each other over whatever. And recently, you know, they just carved a rift down the Imperium of Man. That's somebody spilling the gravy boat. Oh, how dare you? The table's never gonna be the same. Meanwhile, the Tyranids are that pack of like grizzly bears that smell the food and will eat everybody at that dinner table. And they just,
regardless,
more and more bears just keep surrounding the log cabin, and they're going to get in. They are an issue. You can keep bickering about the spilled gravy boat at the dinner table, but you need to deal with the grizzly bears that are slowly crawling through the doors.
This has been another great analogy.
I'm full of them.
By Drew.
But I mean, they literally they are swallowing the galaxy whole.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with it.
And I did like that about the trailer where like they kind of make it seem like you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, we thought we dealt with the problem, but it's like, oh, no, we did not.
Yeah. This was the tip of the iceberg.
It does beg a question if like 10th edition is going to introduce a new role reversal where Gulliman is going to be like, brother, I need you to handle the chaos. Mm. I need to handle the Tyranid. Like we need to just I'm gonna afford you. You're gonna take this chapter, and this chapter, and you're going after chaos. I'm taking this chapter, and this chapter, and we're going after Tyranid because it's all that we have to deal with it. And chaos isn't gonna listen to us and be like, hey, we thought about it, and we need to put a pause on whatever this is.
Hansu, how would you handle the Tyranid invasion?
Yeah, give me 5 stout women and I'll have you a new army in no time.
We're not doing that again. Fucking tried it. Don't do it. Don't fucking listen to
Knock that shit off. Science cannot progress without heaps of dead women.
What have you done here? It looks like he sewed those stout women into us at a hot air balloon. Yeah, he's flying away. God damn it. You got us again, Hansu.
It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Oh, shit.
I need 5 big meaty women with childbearing hips.
So it's always the hips. We're not doing this. Who wants to join his exchange program? Question. What do you think in terms of armies for 10th? Anything new? Do you think we're going to get...
So I have an answer because I've spoiled a lot of the Arcs of Omen, but I like my shit getting fed to me in a quick drip rather than a slow drip. I don't want to read the shit. I'll just let them fucking
put it in my veins.
Just hook it to my veins. So I was watching Chapter Master Valric, and he was doing an overview of like some of the Arcs of Omen stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that the Arcs of Omen ends with is the Inquisition is ramping up. With the Return of the Lion, the Inquisition is like pulling out all the stops now. They're with everything because Vashtor. Spoilers, guys. I'm gonna say spoilers now, so shut it off at this point if you don't want to hear a little bit of spoilers for Arcs of Omen. But that's the only warning. Essentially, Vashtor succeeds. He pulls a double whammy on the Dark Angels, and he steals the I can't think of the name of the engine, but he steals the engine that was in the rock, and he's going to make the Dissidence engine, which is going to allow him to like basically it's his own mini webway. We don't know what his goal is for this yet, but he basically has created his own webway here where he can like cross the galaxy in an instant.
Presto changeo.
Yeah. So the Inquisition knows about this, and the Inquisition is like, that can't happen.
Yeah.
So for me as a Grey Knights player, hearing that the Inquisition is like, we're going to be redoubling our efforts, I think Grey Knights could potentially be a focus faction, because obviously demonic chaos is going to become probably more of a problem with this engine.
Yeah.
Other armies I see.
So do you see also like a more beefed up Inquisition army?
I think
like
so.
a Witch Hunters army?
I think so.
Maybe coming back?
Or possibly Grey Knights becoming,
because they
back in 3rd edition there was Demon Hunters, and 4th edition they were like Demon Hunters, and they had access to the Inquisitors.
Yep.
And there was Grey Knights, and then there was,
because I saw one of the Arcs of Omen detachment box sets. Is that what they are?
the boarding patrols.
Boarding patrols. They have one, and it's just labeled Agents of the Imperium.
Yes, and it's like Inquisitional forces.
Yeah, you get like a spy. I think you get a Jacaro Warpsmith, or they're considered Agents of the Imperium now, I think.
So
I don't know, not a spy. It's like the assassins are Agents of the Imperium, but then they have like all of the new BDs, or I call them Arbites.
Arbites.
I think in the
Arbites.
Yeah, that's but like all of those units now are all just considered Agents of the Imperium. They have the fucking rogue trader squad that was in Kill Team.
Yes,
I think they're now part of the Agents of the Imperium. So that does make sense. I could see
an inquisitional force.
Maybe they just refer to it as Agents of the Imperium, and that gives you all of that. Like, oh, you want like the Navy units? You can bring them. You want these units? You can bring them.
Almost like a Cities of Sigmar from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So I see that as possibility. I see Grey Knights getting a boost.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously because Psychic Phase has changed completely.
Yeah.
So I see them getting a boost. Like, you can't. They aren't that like top tier anyways. So being like, hey, we took away the Psychic Phase, and by the way, fuck you, you're not getting anything extra.
They got to do something.
They're gonna have to get something. So I see them getting a boost. Nids are obviously gonna get.
They've already shown us some of the new stuff they're gonna get.
They're gonna get a heavy power hand for sure.
Do we think we're gonna get Emperor's Children in 10th? Do we think we'll see?
Do we see the return of Fulgrim in 10th? I think you want there to be a return of Fulgrim.
I want.
I would love for them to give us some fluffy armies.
Who's the next? We're getting the Lion. They are full blown bringing back. They brought back Chaos Primarchs, demonic Primarchs. They've now brought back Gilliman because of by means. They gave us back the Lion.
Every time Chaos does something really good or like succeeds really well,
you got to ramp up
the good guy. So the Chaos did, what was it? They destroyed Cadia. Gilliman woke up. They now have this engine. Lion's back.
Yeah.
So it depends on what the other swing goes. Like, what does Chaos do next? Do they awaken? Like, do they? I mean, Fulgrim's still there. He's just not there. Like, he's an absent daddy. he's too busy with his hookers and blow.
Yeah, because I mean, so far it was Magnus, Mortarion, right? Magnus wasn't he the first?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he was the first
Magnus,
model.
Mortarion, Angron. I mean, they're specifically they're focusing on the god specific.
Yep.
So as much as I would love,
Fulgrim seems to be the next one.
Fulgrim, to me, it makes sense. Bring him here in 10th.
But hopefully, if Fulgrim returns, what's the swing backwards? Who comes back for the good guys?
And the easy ones, who would
Vulcan
would be awesome.
Leman Russ and Rogel Dorn would be the three I would see most likely.
What's Jagatai Khan doing right now?
We don't know.
Wasn't he just out and about?
No,
there's a lot of
no. He's missing because the Harlequin god, the Jester god, whatever his name is.
The Laughing God?
He fucked with him or something. So he's somewhere in the webway. We don't know where Jagatai Khan is. He's somewhere in the webway, though. At least that's what we think. We don't know where, I like the idea of him, I like the idea of Jagatai Khan coming back, in the throne room. He's he comes carving out from the hole in the rift where the webway portal was being made. He's like, he comes out like he's like covered in goo, and he's like, Jesus Christ, you guys have no idea what's going on in there.
Well, another spoiler. So this is about a novel that I read recently regarding Fulgrim and Ferrus Manus. So if you don't want to hear about this, spoilers.
Is he Skullfuck Ferrus Manus?
So they're essentially playing chess. They call it regicide in the 40k universe, and they're playing, and they're reminiscing. And he's like, "Oh, brother, you usually don't, you normally play more strategic or defensive. You don't play aggressive like this. Very interesting." And the entire time, there's like something off. Like Ferrus is like, he gets like a headache, and he's just like, "Ah, like what? Why are you talking? Why are we playing this game? Like, why are you talking about this?" And then it ends, and
the headache is the spoiler.
Like Fulgrim, shut up! God damn it! Fulgrim says something like, "Join me in defeating our father," or something like that, or he like talks bad about the emperor and like all that shit. And then Ferrus is like, "How dare you say that?" And like throws the game to the side. And then, hey, from the waist down, Fulgrim was a snake man, and it's demonic Fulgrim. This is a clone of Ferrus Manus. He is repeatedly having Fabius clone Ferrus Manus because he's trying to get and he's like, "You're not perfect. You're not my brother. My pure brother would join me. We were best friends. Like we had a bond closer than any other of my brothers. You are not perfect. I have done something wrong. I need to create the perfect version of you."
He wants a Ferrus Manus that joins the chaos.
Because you would join chaos. And they get into a fight, and he ends up killing Ferrus Manus, throws him to the side, tells Fabius, create another one.
Do it again!
Bring another one in. And like, as soon as he kills him, like he's talking with Fulgrim, or Fulgrim is talking with Fabius Bile. A lot of F names here. And he's like, "I'm bored. Bring me another one, and we'll do it again." And he resets the game, and then Ferrus Manus walks in, and he's like, "Why have you summoned me, brother?" And he's like, "Let's play a game." And you're like, "Oh shit!" So Fabius Bile at this point has created a perfect clone of Fulgrim.
Yes.
So
there's actually a theory behind that too.
That Fulgrim might come back as.
Yeah, well, there's a theory as why he's perfect though. I was listening. We're going on a side tangent here a little bit. So the theory goes, when the Emperor made all these primarchs and he did his little primarch jazz, when he did it, he made deals with the devil, and he actually trapped 20 lesser gods of chaos and gave them vessels, and they were happy for these vessels. So the theory is that when Fabius created this Fulgrim clone, it was so perfect that the warp god went back to it. That's why it's actually the perfect vessel.
Okay.
Because anything else, the lesser warp god sees it as inferior and won't go to it. So the thought is, to bring back Ferrus Manus, they'd simply just have to create a perfect vessel for it, and the lesser warp god will transfer its transfer itself back to that body. That's why the Primarchs have all these like crazy weird abilities, is because they're not fully human. They are in fact
transcended from humanity.
Yeah, they're a Nephilim. They're the spawn of like a lesser known chaos god, like a lesser evil of warp and human DNA. Like, now you can take that image however you want. You can either picture the Emperor with, little magnifying glasses and slowly pouring, vials into other vials, or you could see him pants down railing some chaos god.
I have ejaculated into heaven and hell. First come, first serve. Oh, all you can me buffet. I hate this. I hate this so much. Well, yeah, and like the fact that Fabius has been he started cloning Horus way back in the day.
Yep.
And then created actual clones of Horus. They said that they were like missing the soul, but there's in one of the novels,
which
Chaos
which
Marines
then leads
come
to the
in.
thing that if the Emperor flat out obliterated that god that was in Horus as well as Horus himself, that explains why there will never be a perfect.
Yeah, because
that soul will never reattach itself to the vessel.
Yeah, because in one of the novels, Chaos Marines going in to stop Fabius and like destroy his facility, Fabius lets loose one of their like his perfected clones of Horus, and like they are like he is almost perfect in every way, except for he's brainwashed to be Fabius Bile's lackey, and they end up killing him. But they even say they're
Will
like,
you let me pet the rabbits, Fabius?
And they say something like the real Horus, like they would have never been able to defeat him, or something like that. Like there was something missing, and so
creme de la emperor.
Yeah, there you go. You always got to put whipped cream on that sundae. And the fact that with Fulgrim now, like he has had time. He has been cloning. Fabius has been cloning people left and right. You don't fucking care. He's got no morals. That's the beauty of it. He's like, well, you know, if you don't have a conscience, you don't have morals. Hey, doesn't get in the way of your science. But yes, we technically have and it's Trazar, I think. Is that the Infinite?
Trazian.
Trazian the Infinite. He has him right now because Fulgrim basically pushed him and was like, "Here you go." Put him in your little isolation cube. And he's like, all right. And Fulgrim's like, wait, what, father? And then so that won't come back to scar him. Well, we have a perfect clone of Fulgrim. We possibly have, I think all of the Horus clones were defeated, but who knows who else and what else Fulgrim has had time to do.
There could be a Horus clone dressed up as Alpharius for all we know.
Could be. Fulgrim himself is one of a billion clones. And the main Fulgrim, or I'm sorry, Fabius Bile.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Fabius
so many
Bile,
F names. Ferris, Fulgrim, Fabius. Fabius Bile himself, like, cloned himself a billion times. He's got it's like the blight, I think is what they call it. He's got like a terminal cancer, and every time he tries to clone himself, the cancer always comes in. Like, he's always dying of cancer. And he can just transfer his consciousness to a new cancer body.
And again,
but he can't outrun that.
We have to question, like,
he's got a shit ton of himself out there.
Like, how many times do you clone yourself before like stuff starts to break down?
Yes, that's happening. Also, the Dark Eldar deal with that. The homunculi, they always Yuri and Rackar, like the leader of the homunculi. He has like weird gross little like vestigial arms and shit like that, and they're from previous like as he keeps cloning himself, like more things happen where it's like, oh hey, look, like you got weird little vestigial arms from like your past cloned body that kind of came in.
If you let the little arm grab your nipple, it's like a little baby is twisting it.
It's not a bug. This is a feature. And he's like, and then in typical Dark Eldar fashion, he's like, I shall strip the flesh off of it and have it casted in gold. Yes. And it's like, but why? Why do you need that? Anyways,
it's a fancy.
I love my Dark Eldar. But Ferrus Manus, all of that, and the cloning and everything, like, Rabute Gilliman was like dying. Nothing. They brought him back with like a joint Eldar Mechanicus, all of that, the armor of fate or whatever it was, and pull the plug. And as we slap this armor on him, and we're gonna hit him with the
defibrillator,
and then he's gonna come back. And it was like some shit like that where like came back, he's good. Ferrus Manus's head is, I think, unaccounted for at this time.
Yes.
Fulgrim gave it to Horus as a sign of like,
look what I did.
Yes, I am with you. We don't know where that head went. Who knows to say that the head doesn't get in the hands of
Fulgrim skull fucking that head.
But who's to say like that head's not alive still? Because Space Marines can also like go into like suspended animation, or maybe Fulgrim, or maybe
Fulgrim is the Ed Kemper.
Or the Ed Gein. Look at these drapes I made. Your drapes are screaming bloody murder. Just hit them with the salt. Shut up. Your nerves are exposed still for a reason. Are you going to be a good lamp? But like,
it's like a really twisted Beauty and the Beast house.
be my guest or be my ottoman. The choice is yours. I'll eat the food, man. With creme brulee, it's good. It's fine.
Hey, look at this little candlestick holder coming up. Oh my, what the fuck are those fingers on it? Like, please help me.
Do you like your dinner? I mean, you served us shrimp scampi. I got a shellfish allergy, but I don't want to be coming out of it, so I'm eating it. All right, just listen. All right, I'm gonna keel over here in about 6 minutes. Get the pen out of my breast pocket and stab it on my left thigh.
But you know, I changed your pen out with a chaos tainted one. You're gonna be my ottoman whether you like to or not. Are you good at singing show tunes? Not really. Well, you better learn. I like my house full of jazz.
God. The hell was I? Ferrus Manus' head though. Like, who's to say Fabius Bile isn't using that as his cloning material to create the clones?
Right.
And then the head doesn't get like. Yes, I understand that this would be fucking reaching, but Games Workshop's not afraid at this point to pull in loyalist primarchs that were pretty much considered gone.
Right, yeah.
I mean, Gilliman, like, they said that, like, the wound looked like it was maybe slowly healing, but he was, like, critical, and to take him out of stasis, he would, like, die immediately. It was kind of how the wording used to be. Who's to say we don't get Ferrus Manus' head back in loyalist hands?
And Belisarius Call goes, I can do some shit with this.
I'm gonna give you a RoboCop body.
Yeah.
You were already mechanically inclined.
Yeah.
And
you're gonna love this.
Yeah. You had metal hands before. Hey, now you have metal hands.
He's gonna have the opposite reaction to like Alex Murphy turning into like, oh,
my humanity.
He's gonna be like, oh, fucking sweet.
I can improve this. Give me that socket wrench.
You guys didn't see this?
Like, I think that the next one that would make sense, like you said, like a Vulcan who's been missing. He seemed to be like in like
and they're closing in on gathering all his artifacts too. Like they're that was like 5 of 9, so they're not far off.
And that was like a self-induced isolation.
Yeah, he basically says when they get all my shit back together, I'll come back. Which is weird thing to do at that time. Hey, chaos is ensuing, the galaxy's falling apart. Oh yeah, well go on a fucking Easter egg hunt. See ya. Like, Daddy's going out for some smokes. Some really good smokes. 2 hours.
Here's a clue. Number 5. It's hidden under the giant gold pyramid, and it's like, it's the Golden Throne. I don't fucking know. Prospero had pyramids. Like, what the fuck? Hey, meanwhile, we're being invaded on all sides. Maybe we just come back and we don't go in self-isolation. I need time to think. But yeah, like, I think that Vulcan would make sense. You could easily bring back Jagged Icon in some way. He finds his way out of the webway. He teleports somewhere. Yeah, he motorcycles faster than he's ever motorcycled before, and he drives away, and then he comes into real space. Or maybe they do. Maybe they pull a curveball. They don't give us as the next Traitor Primarch. They don't give us Fulgrim. Maybe they give us Lorgar.
Oh, and then Corvus would be coming fucking screaming back.
And
like, he's out of there!
Yeah.
Get him!
I smell you! What are you going to do when your shadow reaches up for you? And yeah, like, right there, that could be a box set.
I did not. I did not just spend all day in the warp trying to get Lorgar. I did not. It's a fucking lie. It's fucking bullshit.
Where have you been? We needed you. Don't yell at me, motherfucker. I've been haunting him, okay?
I still need Henry Cavill to reach out to Tommy Wiseau and make that happen for me.
Who's that? Oh my god. Oh, hi, Lion.
Hi, Lion.
I just fucking. Oh shit. I did not abandon you. I did not.
I did not. I was busy in the warp. Oh, hi, Lion.
The Imperium is a joke. The Emperor abandoned us. Everybody hates us.
You want to throw this football around?
I was hiding in Lorgar's dimension because he chicken chop 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 chop. Oh, what are we? Where are we?
I don't
What
know.
are we
Where
doing?
we at? I don't know. We're at almost 2 hours.
That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
10th edition, everybody.
10th edition. Ta-da!
Did we give you all of your answers, or did we leave you with more questions?
If you're wondering about the Tommy Wiseau thing, go back a couple episodes. You'll find it.
That's the Corvus episode. Corvus being like full on warp powered primarch.
I
Like,
love the idea of him coming in as like a demon,
unchained. Like,
but yeah, like as a demon bird, but he's for the loyalists. Like, yeah, sign me up.
God,
That'd be awesome. That'd be an awesome model.
Because even like Lorgar coming back, one thing I feel like they did a push in the 9th edition box set with, I forget the mini codex. It was like Chaos Space Marines that had like they were focused on like summoning demons.
Yeah,
it was and I forget what they called it. But I like if you bring Lorgar in and you bring it back to like that whole thing's his specialty is summoning in demons.
Yeah, right.
Because
right.
we currently have a psychically inclined, we have a melee focused demon primarch.
Right.
I guess you could consider Mortarion to be.
I'd love to have a summoning one though.
Yeah,
like a necromancer almost.
Like,
yeah,
essentially. And that's why that's his whole thing is like possessing. Like it's spreading the demonic cause. So there you go.
Actually, running like a necromancer like you would in Age of Sigmar, where you can like bring back Cornite units, like bring back Zerker units, bring back Slaneshi. Like he controls all. He could like bring whatever he wants, and he can like replenish their numbers. He can heal their numbers. Like
because Magnus is your psychic. Your melee is Angron. Mortarion is more, I guess, I would say like your debuffing kind of focus. Your ranged would be fucking Iron Warriors. Perturabo would be your ranged focused. So yeah, Lorgar would be like your summoning. Like everybody would have their own specialty at that point. That's like their own things they want to focus on. I don't know what are there any other demon primarchs that are out and about? Fulgrim would probably.
Alfarius is dead.
Yeah,
that we know of.
Well, no,
Omegon's still out there.
Yeah.
But we don't know what he is.
And his whole thing would probably be like fucking with like your phases or debuffing or doing something in like the first phase, the command phase.
Or he gets to select like up to 3 units, and there's actually an Alfarius unit in there.
Oh, like old school, the one assassin,
the Kalidas assassin, where she would just pop up.
I'm not a fire warrior.
Ha-cha!
She's got a weapon. She's shoving a sharp object into our bodies. This is not a gun.
What is this?
Guess we'll all roll over and die. And then like Fulgrim is probably his whole thing will be like, I don't even know, speed. He's your
sexual in nature.
Roll for masturbation. It succeeds. It's an assault weapon.
A sexual assault weapon?
Clearly.
Oh man! All right, we're like Lord of the Ringing this with our endings.
I just keep rolling my morale, and I just keep failing it.
No, that was a pass. Yeah, no, I know. I'm talking about my internal morale.
Has Fulgrim caused any physical wounds? No, only emotional. He is just going hard in the paint on himself in the middle of the battlefield, and it has just created a bubble that nobody wants to go to.
Nobody wants to attack him. Everybody's just like, we avoid it.
I'm going to deep strike my Terminators in the back left corner there. They will be counseling anybody that would like to talk with them about what they've experienced on the battlefield.
They've seen some shit. They can help with some shit.
Hey, Fulgrim, buddy, you want to go and do something? I am doing something.
I'm helping.
God.
Oh, that's about as good a place as anywhere to end it.
Do you have a final thought? Or do we want to...
hooray for 10th.
God. This is how excited it's gotten us. I need this.
Yes, this is needed.
Yeah.
This was good.
This was good. 10th edition will be great.
I have no doubt. I'm
God.
not worried about it at all. Everything I've seen, I've been fucking excited about. Every rule drop, I've been like...
And we didn't even talk about terrain.
Yeah,
But there's not a lot to say. But like, even terrain is getting
very simplified.
I would love for them to create.
Still want my mysterious train wreck, but you know.
I mean, hey, we still have the old pages from the old books.
I'll
That's
still
fine.
utilize that stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Brain leaf, chlorophyll. Oh no, it's got him.
Hey, Bill, you got a leaf coming out your ear over there. Chlorophyll.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. We've all been there.
Why are you sitting in that puddle over there? My roots were dry. Got a bad case of swamp foot going on there. You're just your boots are rotten. Absorb the water.
Get me into the sunlight so I may grow.
That's my final thought, I guess. Well, both of it. Like the idea of a plant attaching to somebody's fucking spinal column, and then just instantly being like, gun in a hand, shoot them. Like, that's what it did. It was like, it wasn't like it absorbed that unit's, or like embedded into their consciousness, and then was like, hey,
maybe we can like sneak out with these guys and like blend in,
or like hey, walk into the giant Venus flytrap. Like, it wasn't like it was just like, hey, food, ooh, like it literally was just, that's how fucked up the 40K world is, that a plant getting access to your body is like,
kill everybody.
You know what you got to do? Yeah, you got to blow up the squad. You got to prime that melta bomb. Got to do it. Got to do it for Leafy, the big green over there.